What's up, everybody, and welcome to a WNBA State of Mind where we mainly discuss basketball, but we love other sports. And as usual, I have my guy, Nephew Vid, on the show. So, welcome back, my guy, from the Olympic break. Congrats to all the medalists, okay? All of them, from gold to silver and bronze. Now, we got so much to discuss, Nephew. I want to get your take on this week's games, the rankings, some of the rankings, and some current issues that we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to roll back to last month when we were discussing the Roy. So Clark and Reese, the Roy battle. Will it go down to the wire or not? And if you say nah, then why?
I think it's to the wire. I like again, earlier in the season or midway through the season, I said that I think they're going to be co-MVPs. It's a strong case. You can make a strong case for both of them, either one of them, but just their impact on their teams. They got both of them. Both players have their teams in the playoff hunt right now, which is big. We didn't expect them to be in a playoff hunt for the season, but the impact that Caitlin Clark has on her team, as well as Angela Reese with down in or up in Chicago. I'm down in Florida, so up in Chicago is big. So I don't. Yeah, it's definitely coming to the wire. If not being co-MVP, that's just my opinion.
I mean, and I think that's a strong take. I think there's a lot of people that are tossed up in between, and I also said that I think that the playoffs are going to definitely play a factor in who gets that too. And so, with them straddling seventh and eighth, but I mean, we're going to talk about the dream in a second. They making, and kudos to Don, but he's not here. The kids started school in Michigan, so we can't roast them today because I really want to get at them, but Atlanta is they're turning around and they're sitting there right there in nine, and so, it's a battle right now. And I stand corrected, I stand corrected. The Sky is 11 and 16 and the Dream 10 and 17. And I stand corrected because people did have games, and so this Roy is definitely going to be tight. And both of them are playing fantastic. So on to the next, right? Leads to the next thing I want to talk about. Now, Tina Charles and Jordan Clark have been two bright spots actually in Atlanta, who's in competition. We just were talking about with the Sky for the eighth spot, the playoff spot. You think they can turn it around, or what do you think about that? Because I mean, Tina is absolutely on fire. All right, she became the second, on the all-time scoring list in the WNBA. All right, the last game, and then Jordan, Canada, she's on fire. She reminds me of Nikki Teasley. So what do you think? You think they could turn it on? You think that they may be able to, give the Sky a run for their money?
They definitely going to give the Sky a run for their money. I think they're turning it on. They had a big win against the Mercury earlier this week. Yeah, I think it's that 7th and 8th spot is definitely going to be tight, but I still give the advantage to the Sky and the Fever because just what they got. I don't know, that energy is just different. You got those that rookie energy or whatever, and you know, you had the vets down there in Atlanta, but I think it's going to be too little, too late. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and you may very well be right, but just like you said, and I'm going to hinge upon that it should be interesting. It should be
Hmm.
very interesting coming down the stretch, because then you have all the awards that are going to be coming up, and the Sky, and the Fever are going to be going at it until the end. So that's why I think that, like I'm going to back you up with what you're saying, that this Roy thing may run to the end because the battle for seventh and eighth place is going to go to the end, and the Fever may very well be on top, but I wouldn't want to play either one of those teams when they come into their momentum. Now, leading into the next thing, which is kind of controversial for me because it involves the Aces. I mean, they have not shown like a lot of energy, a lot of strength, and they have not shown the ability to play consistently on the defensive end. Do the Aces get eliminated from the playoffs this year? I mean, if they played Seattle right now, do they honestly get to the second round? I mean, why not? Because right now, if they had to play, they sit in a fourth and fifth place. So you got the Storm 18-10 and the Aces 17-10. Correct me if I'm wrong, because people have played games. But if they played today, what's your take?
It's hard to go against the Aces, but logic is logic. I think, you know, those other teams that seem hungrier and they seem to be gelling together, and no one's scared of the Aces. You had that intimidation factor seasons ago, but I think with the Storm and this, for instance, the Lynx this past week when they played, you know the Aces just looked overmatched. You know, so I do think the Aces do get eliminated from the playoff. It hurts me to say that, but just going on right now, it's just too many inconsistencies where other teams are just coming around right now, and this is an important part of the season right now. Getting coming off a break, getting people back from injury, signing players and whatnot, and it's all about the teams that's gelling and having chemistry down late in the stretch that's going to carry that momentum into the playoffs. And I just don't see the Aces right now being in the finals like I predicted.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with you, and I have to say this too, and it's tough for me to say. If they had to play against Seattle, exactly what you were saying, the energy. If they had to play against Seattle, they would be in trouble. They wouldn't. They may not make it to the second round, and let me tell you why. Jewel Lloyd has the ability to drive her team to do whatever. Okay, now they have the Gabby energy. After the Olympics, they brought her back. They have the Gabby energy. She's already played there. People are excited. They want to see her back. And then the biggest problem for the Aces to me is the four spot, the inconsistency. You got Stokes and bad matchups constantly. And so then when it's a bad matchup, then now they got to play down, and then now they're playing, smaller post players that they can't match up. So the matchups are always bad. And then that defense, no. According to their defense, right now, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They clean up those things, it may happen. I did expect them to maybe bring in another player. I understand, when you have players that have all gelled together and the team is getting along and all of this and all of that, but the team has to have the ability to make adjustments too. They have to be able to make adjustments on defense. Asia needs somebody who's a killer at the four to help her play. Okay,
Mm.
either a four or a five. All right, whatever position that she doesn't want to play. Right now, I'm in agreement with the positionless player, where you can get somebody who is a mass murderer, excuse me, okay? And that's a metaphor, you guys, out there on the court. A sniper, boom, that can get it in, that can rebound, that can score, that can do it all. Do it all. And so I really did expect them to have some type of movement where they would get an impact player, but that didn't happen. So I'm going to agree with you on that one. The next issue, which is tedious, and it's a current issue for the players, but it's been an issue for us for 27 years. Now, does Dejanay Carrington have a valid argument, okay, versus the WNBA for lack of promo for the game in Boston?
Yeah, to me, she definitely. I agree with her wholeheartedly. That game in TD Garden was set up, I think, or announced in December, if I'm not mistaken, and many people didn't outside of the Boston, Connecticut area did not know about that. And to have something in a historic place like that, yes, it's not the original Boston Garden, but Boston is Boston, right? How do you not promote that? How do you not have that on um, a channel where you don't have to subscribe to? You know, yeah, I think the WNBA missed the ball on that, and especially with the numbers coming out that it was a sellout. You know, it was a sellout. So yeah, you miss. They definitely missed the ball on that.
Yeah,
Definitely missed.
absolutely. They dropped the ball on that definitely, and I have to agree with the youngin. And I'm going to say yes and yes because her slam on the WNBA was a direct play at the sales revenue sharing issue that has been a major concern by the players since the league's formation in 1996. Okay, I am one of the players on the 2002 collective bargaining agreement, so I understand what the problem is. Kelsey Plum has been mentioning it for a while, and I have a clip on her with her speaking on a podcast about the same thing. The league has to pay the players a portion of the ticket sales. Okay, once a benchmark is met. Okay, they have to pay them a portion of the ticket sales. So hell yes, she has a valid argument. And you're listening to a WNBA state of mind. It just gets better. The 2025 CBA is about to happen, and they have to address revenue sharing in a major way. Ticket sales are a part of that. Jersey sales are a part of that. Okay. And so that's the reason why you don't see as many players having jerseys out there, because then they would have to share in the revenue. But now is the time. Now is the time. And I know that they're going to change that because it's been coming up too much. So my last question is, who you got?
I'm still sticking with the Liberty. You know, I'm. It's this easy for me right now. They rolling, but I would tell you the teams that I am cautious about: the Lynx and the Sun. Yeah, I could put the Storm in that as well, but you know, I think the Lynx is the tough. But I can't go away from the Liberty. But let me just say this: 7 and 8 seed, whoever draw them, if the standings hold out, it's not going to be an easy win. It's not going to be an easy series. So I'm definitely looking at some upsets. But I got the Liberty all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you. Like I said, I don't think anybody wants to see Indiana. I don't think anybody wants to see the Sky because in the playoffs they'll have the ability to wear you out, and then your players will be leg weary in the second round. So that's why they're so dangerous is because of that energy factor, and they'll wear you out. Now, in the previous show that we had, we said New York, Minnesota, the Sun, and the Aces. That was the four teams that we expected, okay, to come into the playoffs. To come in to be in the Final Four, or to be in the finals. To see who comes out on top. But I can tell you this: if the Aces do not get themselves together, Seattle will comfortably be in that fourth spot. Can comfortably be in that fourth spot because of the momentum that they're bringing on. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the Cinderella rookie teams end up in that fourth spot. I mean, anything can happen. But I will say to you, okay, right now I have Minnesota.
Mm.
I have Minnesota. And why? Because no one matches up well against them. Okay? And let me tell you why. Williams, Collier, Hines Allen. Okay? They just acquired her from Washington. So that's how I know they're trying to tank to get Paige. All right? The girl had 14 rebounds in her debut. Correct me if I'm wrong. Xander Lassini, Carrollton, Smith, Miller, McBride. X factors. They are absolutely a problem.
Yes.
If McBride goes on this run or this tear where she starts to average 16 points a game, oh my goodness. Okay. If they get Diamond Miller to some shade of what she could look like next year, oh my goodness, they're going to be a problem. So that's why I have them. When they picked up Hines Allen, that's when I really said, whoa, this team right here is contending for a ring. Quiet's kept. They're contending for a ring. And you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind. Me and Nephew Vid over here chopping it up. Want to give you a short reel on the WNBA, see what's going on, what's happening around the league. Very exciting. And don't forget to download, like, follow, and share a WNBA State of Mind on your pod and your social media platforms. Also, look out for the Bayonne Police Department versus Team Goody. Sammy Sosa, peace out.